The Millionaire Challenge of Alcaraz. He will face amateurs with millions of euros at stake. Stay until the end to know all the details about Alcaraz's new challenge. The Spaniard will be the main attraction of the One-Point Slam, an event that mixes professional and amateur tennis in Australia. Carlos Alcaraz will be the star of an unprecedented competition before the Australian Open, the $1 Million One-Point Slam. This special tournament will bring together professionals and amateur players under an unusual rule. Each match is decided in a single point, with a prize of $1 million Australian dollars for whoever manages to beat the world number one. The format seeks to combine spectacle and accessibility. The matches are resolved in a single rally, and the serve is decided by rock, paper, scissors. A total of 22 professionals and 10 local amateurs will participate, including Alcaraz, who will face non-professional players in a relaxed and highly media-driven atmosphere. The event will take place in different Australian cities, with the grand final at the Rod Laver Arena, the main stage of Melbourne Park. Now you have a million reasons to grab a racket, highlighted Craig Tiley, the tournament director, when announcing the presence of the Mercian. Beyond the entertainment value, the event is part of the Australian Open's strategy to bring elite tennis closer to the general public and expand its global reach. Alcaraz will also arrive with extra motivation. If he wins the Grand Slam, he will become the youngest player ever to conquer all four majors. Would you like to play a tennis match against Alcaraz? Some fans will be able to find out after this event. It's called the $1 Million One-Point Slam, a format that has $1 million reward. 22 professional players will face 10 amateur or recreational players, and Alcaraz will be among them. I can reveal today that the world number one will headline the lineup of players. With more big names to be announced soon, you now have a million reasons to grab a racket and get ready for January, said Craig Tiley, the tournament director. The $1 Million One-Point Slam works as a knockout draw, and rock, paper, scissors determines who serves and who receives. The player who wins the point wins the match and advances to the next round, while the loser is eliminated. The qualifying rounds will take place during the opening week of the Australian Open, and the final will be held at the Rod Laver Arena. Whether amateur or professional, the final winner will take the prize. Registrations will open soon in clubs across the country, and during opening week, the finalists will compete for the chance to face the pros at the Rod Laver Arena, Tiley explained. Another novelty is that the men's and women's doubles finals will be played on the afternoon of the last Saturday. The medical trick that allowed Alcaraz to play again in 48 hours. Carlos Alcaraz went from scare to victory in just 2 days. Behind it, an elite physiotherapist and a tape that is revolutionizing sports physiotherapy. Carlos Alcaraz raised alarms in his debut at the Tokyo tournament after twisting his left ankle in his first match against Sebastián Baez. The injury sparked fears about his continuity, but just 48 hours later he returned to the court to defeat Zizou Bergs. "I have the best physio in the world," he said after the match. Behind that quick recovery was Juanjo Moreno, the world number one's physiotherapist, and a key element, magnetic tape. The tape that revolutionized sports physiotherapy. Moreno applied to the Mercian's ankle an elastic adhesive band that contains particles with magnetic properties, although they don't act as magnets. This material allows a longitudinal stretch of 50 to 60%, facilitating movement and reducing pain. Alcaraz had already used this system during Roland Garros, where he also suffered physical discomfort. Magnetic tape was developed by Francisco Selva, Doctor of Physiotherapy and Director of the Masters in Evaluation, Physiotherapy, and Readaptation in Sport at the University of Valencia. It's an innovative, scientifically tested product that reduces pain, increases strength, and improves mobility almost immediately, explained Selva. Unlike traditional tapes, this method acts directly on the autonomic nervous system, stimulating epidermal cells and modulating aberrant myotatic reflexes of the central nervous system. That's how an immediate change is achieved, by inhibiting the reflex that causes dysfunction, adds its creator. An academic and professional connection. Juanjo Moreno knew the method well. He was a student of Francisco Selva during his training and, after trying the technique, became convinced of its effectiveness. With more than 25 years of experience in physiotherapy applied to sports, Selva has worked with teams such as Levante UD and several professional handball clubs. In addition to magnetic tape, Selva has developed his own diagnostic and treatment system called superficial neuromodulation, a methodology that applies principles of embryological hierarchy for musculoskeletal rehabilitation and post-surgical recovery. A technique used by elite athletes. The success of the tape is not limited to the world number one. Other athletes who use it regularly include basketball players Queralt Casas and Cristina Uvina, motorcycle racer Jorge Navarro, and Japanese footballer Take Kubo. Alcaraz's case in Tokyo once again highlights the importance of the invisible work of elite physiotherapists and how scientific innovation applied to sports can make the difference between withdrawing from a tournament or returning to compete and win. Carlos Alcaraz practically secures finishing the year as world number 1 due to Sinner's withdrawal in Shanghai. Spanish tennis player Carlos Alcaraz, absent from the Shanghai Masters 1000 due to injury, has benefited from Italian Yannick Sinner's withdrawal in the second round of the Chinese Open and could secure ending the year as world number 1. The Mercian would only need to reach the final in the Masters 1000 of Paris-Bercy, even if his rival won the remaining 3 tournaments. Alcaraz withdrew from Shanghai after winning the ATP 500 in Tokyo due to the ankle discomfort suffered in his first round match. Sinner, who won the ATP 500 in Beijing, was defending 1,000 points in Shanghai but fell in the second round against Dutch player Talon Griekspoor by retirement after suffering cramps. That leaves Sinner with exactly 10,000 points in the ATP ranking compared to Alcaraz's 11,340, who lost 200 for skipping China, where he was a quarterfinalist last season, according to AFA. From now on, the Spaniard will defend 300 points minus 100 in Paris-Bercy and 200 at the Nitto ATP Finals in Turin, while Sinner will defend 1,500 points he earned in 2024. Alcaraz would secure 11,690 points with a final in Paris, while even reaching the semifinals and winning one group stage match in Turin would keep him ahead. The student of Juan Carlos Ferrero and Samuel Lopez is also leading the race with 11,040 points, followed by Sinner with 8,500. Alcaraz is the player with the most wins so far this year minus 67, and 8 titles, including 2 Grand Slams, Roland Garros and US Open, and 3 Masters 1000, Monte Carlo, Rome, and Cincinnati. The shocking image of Djokovic in Shanghai leaves the tennis world speechless. The Serbian, already in the quarterfinals of the Masters 1000 in China after defeating Jaume Munar, has gone through a true ordeal due to heat and humidity. After being forced to vomit courtside in his third round match against Yannick Hanfmann, Novak Djokovic again struggled badly in Shanghai. Despite defeating Jaume Munar in 2 hours and 41 minutes, 6-3, 5-7, 6-2, the world number 5 suffered greatly from the heat and humidity. With a thermal sensation above 30 degrees Celsius and humidity over 80%, the Serbian vomited again and felt pain in his left leg. In the fourth game of the first set, Djokovic called the physio to treat his left leg between the soleus and fibula. In the second set, after losing 7-5 in a 74-minute battle, the Serb collapsed to the ground as the physio and doctor checked his vital signs to see if he could continue. He finally managed to beat Munar to book a place in the quarterfinals, where he would face Belgian's Izu Bergs. Djokovic breaks silence after vomiting and collapsing at the Shanghai Masters court. It seemed Djokovic would be forced to retire, but he quickly got up and kept fighting. He found another gear in the decisive final set to book his place in the quarterfinals, where he will face Izu Bergs. After the match, Djokovic skipped his usual media duties but took to Instagram with a brief message for his fans. He wrote, "Tough day at the office. Very physically challenging. Luckily, I have the best support in the world." Djokovic isn't the only player to express frustration with the conditions in Shanghai. Holger Rune recently urged ATP officials to introduce a heat rule after 7 players were forced to retire mid-match. "I think it was like 31 degrees and very humid, but compared to other days, it was pretty brutal, so I think there should be some kind of rule," said the Dane after beating Giovanni Pericard to reach the quarterfinals. "We can handle a certain amount of heat because we're fit, we're strong, also mentally strong, but there's always a limit. I think it's important to take care of your health. We need to survive." Earlier this week, Djokovic admitted struggling in the scorching heat with humidity near 80% at times. Speaking after his previous win over Yannick Hanfmann, he said, "It's the same for every player on court, but it's brutal. It's brutal when you have more than 80% humidity day after day, especially for the guys who play during the day with the heat and the sun, it's even more brutal. For me, biologically it's a bit more difficult to deal with that. But I had to weather the storm today." Yannick played an incredible match from the start. Tennis is going through a very difficult time at the Shanghai Masters 1000. The reason is none other than health. The extreme heat and, above all, humidity affecting this part of China are causing many players to struggle badly. In the first days of the tournament, top players like Novak Djokovic and Jannik Sinner have suffered the consequences. In Sinner's case, he had to retire with severe cramps, barely able to walk off the court. Djokovic didn't reach that point but vomited on the court several times. and they are far from the only ones. As the round of 16 begins, only about 10 seeded players remain in the tournament, just 3 from the top 8, showing how much everyone is suffering. Although surprises are common in tennis, this many withdrawals is unusual and diminishes the event's quality. It's not just in Shanghai, similar issues were seen recently in Beijing and at the WTA 1000 in Wuhan, where women players have also struggled. Several have retired, including Emma Raducanu, which makes it clear that a solution is urgently needed. For that reason, both the ATP and WTA are working on a response, although it won't be easy, since the weather cannot be controlled. The example of the Grand Slams. Although little can really be done, there is one example these tournaments can follow, the system already used by the Grand Slams. The main goal is player safety, so the ATP is considering implementing a new action protocol for such cases. Until now, the rules state that decisions about suspending play due to adverse weather conditions fall to the ATP supervisor on site, who coordinates with the venue's medical teams and local authorities, but they now want to institutionalize it. They are even evaluating additional measures, including the adoption of an official heat policy.